Phragmites australis. Nickname for this plant is flagpole. This is part 1, and in part 2 I'll be sharing a mnemonic or memory technique to help you commit to memory the most distinguishing characteristics of this plant for identifying purposes. Be sure to watch all of part 1 so that part 2 is understandable. This is an erect plant. It grows up to 6 to 15 feet tall and is usually the tallest herbaceous plant in the area, not including trees. Herbaceous plant. They grow in very dense colonies or stands, also referred to as reed beds. You can see from this example here that the flowers, also known as seed heads, tend to hang or drape to one side. This is where the plant derives its nickname from, flagpole. The stems are unbranching, and the leaves, as you can see, alternate along the stem. The seed heads eventually develop this puffy or fluffy appearance, and it is derived from hairs which originate from the base of each floret, which we will be seeing a better picture of that later. The stems become woody, cane-like. When they're green, they resemble more of a bamboo stem. The hanging or draping to the side is typical, but it is not exclusive, as we can see here. There will be some seed heads in the colony which will have ascending seed heads of flowers, but most of the seed heads and flowers in that colony or stand will be hanging or draping to one side. The leaves are, as I said before, ascending. They can be between 6 to 18 inches long and 1/2 to 2 inches wide. The leaves also shed, or they fall off of the stems one time per year. The flower, or again seed head, is technically referred to as an inflorescence or a cluster of flowers. It is bushy and is an open panicle, meaning that these branches are not condensed. They are open. The many branches have smaller branches, and the smaller branches support several spikelets, which we will see a close-up picture in a later slide. These pinnacles, or seed heads, can be 1 to 2 feet tall and up to 8 inches wide. Notice the hanging or draping to one side. For most of these seed heads, but it is not exclusive. They start out being purple and turn tan or a golden brown with maturity. This is a stand or colony of flagpole plants, the common reed. Notice in this picture that most all of the seed heads tend to be hanging or draping to one side. The same is true in this slide. The stems are very leafy, the leaves flat when they are mature, ending in the long point again. The leaves are rough to the touch. They are hairless but can have hairs along the edges. They have obvious parallel veins. Now, this is being shown in order to let you be aware of what auricles are at the base of each leaf. This is what is referred to as an auricle. Now, for the flagpole plant, the auricles are absent. And in the mnemonic coming up in part 2, I'll be presenting you a way to remember this. The flagpole plant is commonly confused with the arundo, which do have auricles. The arundo is edible in the same way as the flagpole plant, except for the stems. This picture illustrates where young shoots are derived from. On this plant's fact sheet, you will be reading references to young shoots, and they grow from the stolons. Stolons are essentially stems that grow horizontally above the ground, and at each node or each joint grows roots and the young shoot. The flagpole plant bears a rhizomous root system. The rhizomes are very fibrous. It is not a taproot, It is a rhizome, which is essentially creeping, or it creeps beneath the ground almost like a rope. And it is this type of root system which allows the plant to grow in colonies. And these stands or colonies, reed beds, can cover very wide areas as it multiplies with this type of system. As you might have noticed, this is not a flagpole plant, not only because the seed head is closed, but as I said earlier, that the auricles are present. But again, just shown to illustrate where the young shoots are derived from the stolons and the rhizome. This picture will also illustrate to us where the ligules are found. They are at the base of the leaf where the leaf meets the stem. There are 3 different kinds of ligules on the grass plant. This, by the way, is in the grass family. And the ligules for the flagpole plant are hairy. This picture illustrates, again, what auricles are. But remember, the auricles for the flagpole plant are absent. The leaf should be bent back completely, even so far back as to separate the sheath from the stem to expose the ligule. And this plant, we're looking to see that the ligules are hairy, like this. Pull the leaf away from the stem and the sheath. What we're seeing here, you back it up a little bit, show you this again. Now where the sheath separates, we're looking at this area here. Notice the fringes, the fringy type fibers, and the bristly short hairs. This is the ligule. After the sheath and the leaf has fallen away completely, the stem, after it matures, will also bear this pubescence. There'll still be some of that ligule growth at each node or at each joint. Young shoots. Cluster of stems. Notice the nodes. Between the nodes are what's referred to as internodes. Like sugarcane, or when green, like bamboo. Before this plant matures and turns brown, the stems are light green. They are not red, as one of its lookalikes would be. Earlier, I was talking to you about one of its most common lookalikes that it's confused with, and that is the arundo. This is one of the ways you can distinguish the flagpole plant from the arundo. More of the details of this is explained on the fact sheet of this plant, the Phragmites australis. In a paragraph entitled Lookalikes under Miscellaneous. Now this arundo plant, as you can see, has a light brown color at the base, and it is also wrinkled or folded here at the base, whereas the flagpole plant, the leaves are flat, or they bend away from the stem, very well tapered and smooth, not wrinkled. This is another picture of the arundo. As you can see here, it's wrinkled, brown, light brown base. It also has auricles or auricles. Alternating leaves, leaves ascending, narrow, strap-like, long points, the illustration on the left shows us the open panicle, which is associated with this flagpole plant. Very many branches, and each branch supports a smaller branch. And the smaller branches support several spikelets, which again we'll be seeing in a later slide. Now, this would represent a pinnacle of spikelets, and each pinnacle of spikelets can be 1.5 to 2 inches long and about half as much across. seed head hanging to one side. Now this spikelet can be 2/3 inches long, and each spikelet supports 3 to 7 florets, or seeds. My research indicates that these seeds are very rarely found, but when they are, they're edible and can be prepared in a number of different ways. Refer to the fact sheet of this plant for the methods of preparation. Now, this is a scattered spikelet. Shows the seeds in this case. They are brown. They're tiny and very delicate. They're long and narrow, bristly. The bristles and the seed together measure about 1/3 inch long. This is what gives it its fluffy appearance. This illustrates the stem horizontally grows in this fashion is referred to as the stolon, from where the young shoots grow from, as I was explaining in the earlier slide. It shows us a good illustration of the rhizome as well, growing beneath the ground, very fibrous. Stolons. Notice the nodes, the roots, from where a young shoot will come. Here in this case, we have young shoots. Rhizome, very fibrous. Nodes on the stem. Internode. The stems are hollow. Stolon. These runners can grow 10 feet in one season. More stolons. Rhizomes, unbranching, very stout. They're deep and scaly. This is what helps to develop these dense colonies. The edible parts of this plant are the seeds, the stems, leaves, roots, and the sap. To learn how to prepare these parts, visit survivalplantsmemorycourse.com. Click on the Phragmites, australis link. On the same link will be the nickname Common Reed, and I should say the common name is Common Reed and the nickname Flagpole. There on the fact sheet find methods of preparation. This has been part 1, and in part 2 I'll be sharing a mnemonic or memory technique to help you commit to memory the most distinguishing characteristics of this plant for identifying purposes. Thank you for watching.